Okay. E, D?
D?
Hi-da, bye-da, da, ba-dum, bum, boy-da, da. Hi-da,
Shana Tova. Let's do one more song. It's a bit more energetic than the last one, and then we'll say hi. Okay. This is there we go. This one Frank London wrote is going to accompany us throughout the holidays. Hoisa. Shana Tova, everybody. Again, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for coming in person and virtually. Thank you all for being here. This is really not muvan me'elav, as my mother would say. It's not obvious that each of you would come. It's not obvious that we would all be here. It's not simple. It's actually complicated. And thank you. I just want to say thank you. And thank God that we're all here. We made it through. We made it through despite all of the difficulties. So thank you. And I also want to say thank you to the people who really made this event happen. And I want to say thank you off the bat to Susan, and to Amy, and to Talia. Amy and Talia designed this beautiful space that you're in. Yeah, that's right. Susan did everything anyone ever did, anything doable. The musicians, thank you guys for being here. Thank you, everybody. There's lots of people to thank. The VAD, everybody from the VAD, and David. So I'm grateful to be here. We're going to start with lighting the candles. And I'd like to invite 4 relatively important people in my life who I also would like to thank. Matan, Manu, Ezi, and Erica. My 4 people who I live with and love are going to light the candles. And 2 other people who I don't live with but love are there on the screen over there, Danielle and Ellen. They're going to sing from the Zoom sphere the blessing for lighting the candles. So let's see if we can find these matches. They're here somewhere. Here. Maybe large child, or maybe. Yeah, you want to go over there? Come on around. Ellen, whenever you're ready. Hold on. You're going to have to start again, Ellen. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel yom tov.
Blessed are you, source of life, whose presence fills creation, linking us in holiness as we fulfill the commandment to kindle these lights.
Amen.
May our heart lifted, our spirits renewed as we light the Yom Tov candles.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higyanu lazman hazeh.
Blessed are you, eternal Spirit, who has given us life, sustained us, and allowed us to reach this season.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. Thanks, Danielle. We miss you guys. Okay. So I want to remind people, can we lower this sound over here? And we got a lot of noise. Thank you. I want to remind folks who were here last year and to say something for the first time to those who weren't here last year, both in person and on the virtually. We're going to try and create a little space for ourselves here and wherever you are in the Zoom sphere. Zoom people, I'm sorry, I keep looking there because that's where I see you, but I know you're not actually there. There's three things before, when you come to when Jews long ago would come to the temple, they would do three things as a kind of mode of preparation. The first one was they would bring their body, and there would be a kind of bodily preparation. So let's all kind of connect for a second with our bodies. Yeah. So feel your toes and your ankles and your knees and your hips. Feel your belly, your back, your fingers, your arms, your shoulders, your neck. Feel the weight of your head. And after that, after the body, they would do something with their hands with the water. So you guys may have noticed that there's a lot of water around here. The reason is we're in a historical kind of recreation here mode. These entire high holidays, we are recreating the moment in which 2,000, I think it was 2,466 years ago when the first Rosh Hashanah ever was most likely celebrated. And that happened in front of what was known as the Gate of Water, which was one of the gates to the temple, where during the time when the Jews came back from the exile, they all gathered together in front of this gate called the Gate of Water. That's what Talia and Amy so beautifully are invoking here. So we kind of avoided passing around the water because we were worried it would be weird with COVID and everything. But I'm going to invite you to just feel your hands and imagine the water. And then the third thing they would do had to do with the breath. It's called ktoret. You can all say ktoret. Ktoret means incense. But the incense was, I think, an instrument for breathing. So we're very fortunate to have my dear friend and teacher, Michael Posnick, here. Michael, would you come join us over here for a minute? Michael's going to lead us in a short breath exercise that's going to see if it can say something about, can it teach us something about this word return that we're interested in this year.
Good evening and Shana Tova to everyone here. Misha asked me to lead a short meditative exercise with the theme of return, what's called mindful return here. And it strikes me that one of the things we've been talking about is a lot of people want to return to the past, the way things were, back to normal. That seems to me a dream. It'll never be back to normal. There'll always be a new normal. And it's up to us to live in the moment of the new normal and not drag ourselves back to what was. What was a gift, and it's gone. And then I was thinking about the future, how much time we spend speculating and worrying about the future, what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to this country, what's going to happen to Eretz Israel, what's going to happen. And that's a good use of the mind in a certain way. It tends to spark imagination. But the return that's called for now, today, this is the day the Lord made. This is it. This is the one. It's not then, it's now. So we'll practice a little meditative exercise just to return to the present, because most of the time, for most of us, we disappear from the present. And it'd be really wonderful experience to have all of us actually be here at this moment, Hayom, now, at this turning of time. So if your body would just be upright and balanced and comfortable, neutral, free of the postures of personality, just enter a simple sitting presence. Be aware of your body on the chair. Feel its weight on the chair. Now there's quite an amazing thing. Watch the body breathe. It's not our breath. It's not our air. We observe the breath to be now with this breath. And the next one. And the next one. And if you find the mind wandering as it likes to do, just come back to the breath and rest there in the stillness and the watching and the being now. Just watch. Now we can truly say and mean the bracha together, Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Shehechianu v'kiyimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh, that we have been brought alive and vital and awake to this moment of presence. This is a Shana Tova.
Most of you know another teacher of mine named Jim Ponette. He's got a slightly different style than that guy. Jim, if we can make the sound work again for the Zoom, Jim's going to do a version of what's called a Achot Ktana. Achot Ktana is a piyut, a liturgical poem. which is also known as Tichle Shana V'Kilelotea, may the year end with its curses. And it's all this beautiful poetic Hebrew that every verse ends with, may the year end with its curses, and except for the final one, which is, may the year begin with its blessings. I've asked Jim to riff on it. I suggest we all stand up to hear Jim's riff. Rebbe.
Thank you, Reb Misha. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Everybody hears? Yep.
Okay. I took dictation this morning, thinking about tonight. Now it's tonight, and I look at the fruits of this dictation. I can't absolve myself from responsibility. I can only say, this is what they said, and I now say it to you. Letting go of the season. For as bad as it was, as hot and wet and dangerous, as mad and out of whack, as tortured and isolated, as lonely and crowded, as threatening and absurd, somehow you learned, we learned to inhabit it, found a way to receive its bounty, adapted to it, made it, if not home, a domicile. We did not tame the monster, but somehow we made an alliance with it, a covenant, achieved standing in hostile territory, the standing that death grants life, when life understands its task is not mere survival, but rather to be born by the waves of the past, born by the lure of the unknown, carried not to ruin, but to beginning, to the crest of the wave, always, and again, for the first time. Okay, not always. Sometimes we made the fool's move. We gave in to the sun, or was it the moon? And we just laid in the roiling waters and remembered these waters which can drown and suck you into the vortex of a whirlpool. These waters also hold you, support you, belong to you. We learned in this past year, as only a fool can, to navigate the river by becoming the river whose waters go around the rocks. Like fools, we dived into the waters of life and were reborn last year. Now let that year, that never to be lived again year, an artifact of time produced by time-bound consciousness, let that body of time be numbered, packed, mailed, and delivered. Send it away. Let 5781 die into the haze, lie in the vault of the past, and let this tender shoot, this seedling, press like a chick against its shell. Let it surface like a sprout, subtly break the surface. Let it burst, but gently, like a baby finally crowning. Let it be a herald of rupture, a promise of newness, surprise, wonder, and hope. Let the year and its curses go. Send it to the archives, the catacombs, to Sheol, the morgue. Let it be anatomized. Let it reveal the mysteries of mortality to future physicians of the soul. Let it become a blessing, and let it emerge in the genome of this new year as an unfamiliar summons, a strange new yearning, a not yet heard calling for love, for wonder, for truth. Let go the old and wait. Wait for the new. Or don't wait. Just sit and breathe. The new will happen. It has no choice. It is our destiny. We were born for it. We were born into it, born to begin. Enough.
Amen. Can we pass around these sheets? Yeah. Are they passed? Do people have their sheets? Toda rabba, Jim. Toda rabba, Rabbi. Amazing to hear your poetry. Thank you. We're about to dive into some music, but I thought we should understand a little bit the Hebrew that we're gonna get. So you have the Hebrew on one side, but the songs deals with temptation. So I thought we should read some stuff about temptation. Amy is going to lead us, and you guys are going to answer. We're all going to answer. So whatever is in the italics, that's for us. Everything else is Amy. This is also going to be a moment to get to know some of these instruments and some of these musicians. This is John over here. He's going to start us off on the kanun. Mirandy's going to give us some tunes on the violin. After that, Aaron's going to give us some notes on the darbuka, the dumbek, and then later on we're going to get some Frank London, and the rest of the band, Jonathan and Jack, will jump in. Enjoy. Ozreni El Chai. להושיע, להושיעני. דלתי תשובה, אלי אלי, דלתי תשובה, חיי פתח לי. אלי אלי, כי שבתי מחתי ומעלי, כי שבתי מחתי ומעלי. אנא צורי שם הגולי לענני, אנא צורי שם הגולי לענני. אלי אלי, סוד ימינך הפשוטה. אלי אלי, לקבל את נפש המתחרטה, לא תוסיף תחתיי שי אתה תסבוני, הלב שי אתה תסבוני, הלב שי You got the right sheets? Here we go. Amy's going to read the first line. We'll answer with the next.
The temptation is to think we have control. The temptation is to want to go back to what was.
The temptation is to want to go back. Oh.
The temptation is to think you've got nothing. The temptation is to lock yourself up. The temptation is to live recklessly. The temptation is to scold yourself for complaining. The temptation is to blame others. The temptation is to forget. The temptation is to imagine ourselves unscathed from this last year.
Thanks, Amy. I'd like to ask you all to please rise for the Baruch Hu. We are on... Jack, which page are we on here, do you think?
We're on page 10. We're in the Machzor on Zoom. We're on page 7. Baruch Adonai Hamavorach
You may be seated.
Turn to page 14 or page 8 on the Zoom.
Shema Yisrael. I invite you to close your eyes for the Shema if you like.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Page 21 in the Machzor here.
Page 9 online. Page 9.
9 on the virtual Machzor.
מי חמוך
Mi chamocha
באלים אדוני, מי חמוך
page 22. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך, והושיענו למען שמך. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God, in peace. Help us, O Majesty, to stand up to life. Spread over us your peace-filled sukkah. You can read with me on page 23. That through your good counsel we might be repaired. Liberate us from the place we are, that we might affect your name. Shield us from enmity, from slaughter, from hunger of the body and the soul, from unexpected sorrow, from those who would accuse us of being merely human. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth, for with you is protection and safekeeping, and in your presence is royal acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return a peaceful welcome, life, a future, and now. ברוך אתה, אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים.
Let
This is Jack Klebenow over here on the piano. Jack has been leading our Nigunim Chevruta for the last year, and he's going to lead us now in the Chatzi Kaddish, followed by the Amidah. We're on page 25, followed by page 26.
Please rise. Please rise.
Please rise.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ויעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגאלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עולמי יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו
Amidah begins on page 27, and in the virtual machzor, page 10, I believe.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Ayadai 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 Elohei Yitzchak Ayadai 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 v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ayadai, Yadai, 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 Hagibur V'Hanorah, Ayadai, Yadai, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אב הרחמים, זוכה יצוריו, חיים ברחמים. ונאמן אתה לך חיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
Amen. We continue silently. Okay, that was fun. Judy's laughing over here, and I realize I introduced you to everyone except for Judy. Over here, there's Judy Williams. She's singing with us. She's singing with us this holiday season. We're very excited she's here. So I'm gonna say a few words. There's a new Shul tradition. For those of you who are new here, there's a new Shul tradition of the rabbi, which happens to be me for some weird reason, giving some kind of assignment of sorts, a spiritual assignment to the congregation that you guys are meant to go and complete between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And then we come back on Yom Kippur and we talk about it. And everybody reports back. So, in order for me to lay out my assignment, the only problem is I have to tell you a story. So I'm going to have to tell you a story. But before I tell you the story, I'm going to have to give you one other bit of information. Okay, so we're going to go back. This is the last step backwards, I promise. Hannah Arendt spoke about freedom, and in her essay, What is Freedom? She tried to talk about, what that is. What do we mean when we say freedom? And she said, freedom is action. Freedom is action in the public sphere. That's what freedom is. So what does this tell us? It tells us, well, first of all, it tells us that if we can act, then we might be free. And it tells us that if we don't act, then we are not free. Yeah? We'll speak more a little bit about that. But keep that in mind. Keep in mind that notion. Freedom is active. It's something that you do. It's not just something you can, it's not just you're allowed to or you can. Yeah? Keep that in mind as I tell you this story. Now, this story, one tiny introduction to this story. This story is somewhere between a piece of history and a parable. It's somewhere along the line between fact and poetry. It's like, maybe it's a Rabbi Nachman story, and maybe it's a Howard Zinn thinking exercise, okay? Somewhere along those lines. Here's the story. Nehemiah is this simple little guy, simple Yid, yeah, as we like to say, simple Jew, and he's a waiter. That's his job. He landed this pretty impressive job to be the waiter to the king of Persia, which in the 5th century BC was the big superpower. So Nehemiah is the waiter to this guy. Now, like all the Jews who live in exile, Nehemiah dreams of moving to Jerusalem. Yeah, some of us may dream of that. But in any case, back then, everybody dreamed of it. And that was the notion that one day Nehemiah would make it to Jerusalem. That was his comfort. That was his hope. Everything kind of depended on that. Yeah. Now, what you guys also need to know is that before our story begins, there were some Jews who were allowed back to Jerusalem from Persia and Babylonia, where the Jews were exiled to. Right? Maybe 60, 70 years before Nehemiah, there was the Babylonians came and destroyed the entire city of Jerusalem. They burnt it down. They burnt the temple. Suddenly, we didn't know how to pray, how to be Jews. We didn't have a homeland. We didn't have anything. So this happened shortly, a few decades before. But since then, Nehemiah and a bunch of the Jews were allowed to move back to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple and start recollecting these scrolls to put together this thing called the Torah. Yeah, and they were moving in that direction. So there was some movement, but most of the Jews were still in Persia. Okay, here goes the story. Nehemiah's brother shows up one day, and he's just come back from Jerusalem, and Nehemiah is very excited to see him. And he says to him, "No, tell me, I want to hear. What's going on there? How is Jerusalem?" "It's broken." That's what his brother says. "What do you mean broken?" "It's we rebuilt. We started the sacrifices. Everything's right. Aren't we on our way? Aren't we kind of moving along?" "No. The walls are crumbling. The gates barely stand, and the people are poor and depressed, and the rich and the poor don't get along. It's not a good scene." So, as you might imagine, Nehemiah falls into a depression, and he really can't take this news. He tears his clothes, he sits down in the dust, and he stops eating and drinking. Yeah, he stops eating and drinking, and for days he's just sitting there in misery. Until finally his kind of prayer instinct kicks in, and then what happens is that God speaks to him in some way, and God first he reminds God. He's got to remind God that God is actually merciful, gracious, and full of love. And in return, God answers him, and God reminds him that he, Nehemiah, is capable of action. He can do stuff. But he can't really do anything, so he feels, like many of us when we look at the world around us today. He's filled with fear and helplessness, and his face, the way his face looks, it shows. And so the next day, when he comes in with a beautiful glass of Nebbiolo to hand to the king, a specifically selected wine, the king takes one look at him and says, "What's wrong with your face?" He's frozen. He's not sure how to answer. This is a very scary thing. The king could very easily, throw him into a dungeon or worse. But he's staring at him, and he's frozen in fear, and we're going to pause our story at this cliffhanger, as Matan called it the other day. This is kind of where we are as I see it. We've been in exile, the returns began, we got lots of bad news, we're again scared, kind of confused, trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong, and suddenly the days of awe are here, and the King of Kings, or perhaps the Queen of Queens, or some other formulation is staring us in the face and saying, "What's wrong with your face?" That's, I think, our current situation. And there's a question as to what that means. What's wrong with your face? What's happening inside you, maybe? Something like that. What is it? What's being conveyed with that? But I'm reminded of Yom Kippur, Mincha, where we read Jonah, and the first words of Jonah are, God said to Jonah, "Get up." Remember that? God said to Jonah, "Get up." I think that's a little bit of what this "what's wrong with your face" means. I think it means get up. Nehemiah's tshuva, his answer to the king, is the beginning of his action that's going to lead him back to Jerusalem, where he's going to rebuild the walls, and he's going to force the rich to cancel the debts that the poor owe them and fix this inequality. And then he's going to bring the people together like we are today in front of the gate of water to sign a pact of action where they recommit themselves to everything. We'll hear about this more on Yom Kippur. They commit themselves to Torah, to community, to one another. What's wrong with your face? The king asks. How could my face look any different when the city where my ancestors is buried lies in ruins? The king doesn't really say anything, so Nehemiah figures maybe I'll say something else. Send me there. Send me to rebuild its walls. The king's still silent, so he keeps going. I'm going to need materials, I'm going to need money, and I'm going to need soldiers. So we may not possess the same type of bravery as this individual in this story, and we may not even be able to pull off these incredible feats that he manages to do. We may not. But we are capable of action, and that's where I get back to our assignment. That's where I'd like you to go in your minds between now and Yom Kippur. And I just want to say one more thing about Hannah Arendt, which is that when Hannah Arendt says that freedom is action, she's not talking about action that you do alone in your room. She's talking about something that involves somebody else. So here's what I'd like you to do. Think back on the last year and on the lessons you've learned. We all learned all kinds of things, some because we had new space and new views, and others because we had no choice. We learned all kinds of things. Think back on those, and think back at the lessons that we've learned specifically about how we would like to live. There are things we've learned about how we want to live in the past year. Think back on these. What are the things that you learned for yourself, for your family unit, for your community? And then see if you can find a way to realize those lessons or to push them forward in one way or another. Yeah? That's the question we're working on, is what can we do? What can we do? How can we turn these lessons into an action? Yeah? So I'll throw a few thoughts out there. A few examples, just to kind of get you guys thinking. Maybe there was a moment in the past year where somebody called you up, and that really helped you. Somebody called you up, or somebody continuously called you up. So maybe you want to call somebody up who you know actually could use a phone call, or maybe yoga helped you, or basketball, or some kind of physical activity like that, and maybe you want to get a 10-pack of yoga classes and get it for somebody who would really appreciate it. Or maybe music. Maybe you learned something about the importance of music or dance or whatever it is, and maybe you want to get a subscription to the Philharmonic for somebody or something. I don't know. Buy someone a concert, or send somebody some songs. Send somebody some beautiful songs on YouTube. Anything like that. Maybe there was a random act of kindness that someone did towards you this year, and maybe that's going to inspire you to do something similar, to go out and give a meal to the homeless person outside, or maybe to volunteer in some organization. Maybe the election. Remember the election. Remember how you were feeling before the election, and how you were feeling after the election, and how we feel different now than we did. Maybe that's an opportunity to remind yourself, this was actually an important thing to me, and I might make some phone calls or text out the vote for something. I don't know. I don't know what it is. For each one of us, there's a different there's a different thing. Maybe it was Shabbat. Maybe you realized, oh, Shabbat is so nice, and you can now invite somebody over for Shabbat. Something simple. Doesn't have to be something fancy. But that's the assignment, yeah? So what I'm trying to say is that we can act, and that's part of the message of this Nehemiah story, is we're capable of action. And let's try and find the tshuva, the answer to the question, what can we do? And talk about it again in a few days, on Yom Kippur in the morning. The city where our ancestors are buried, the city where our ancestors are buried is calling us. So let's return to it. There's your assignment. And now we're going to have one more assignment. And this one, the one I gave you now, is a more personal one, and the next one is going to be one that's going to be weaved into the fabric of our community, quite literally. And I'd like to invite Suzanne Tick, who's a wonderful artist who many of you know, and she's going to tell us about the loom. Yeah, we should definitely bring the loom.
But you need another person, Amy. Somebody needs to help her. Thank you. So as Amy's getting this, I wanted to read something to you all. So the art of weaving is a profound metaphor for understanding the workings of the universe and our place in it. Through the physical process of weaving, we gain a better understanding of this world and how we as humans are woven into it. Dario Valcaregni, in Zati, The Art of Weaving a Life, states that we are bound to our bodies with the fragile threads of earth. Our skeleton is a loom on which every system is strung and woven with our blood. The meeting of opposite elements woven into the whole is the quest of every spiritual seeker. No wonder the art of weaving is so appealing. It is the essential art of creating the unified one out of two opposites. So our project, I know you can't see the beautiful part, actually. Can we bring it over?
Yeah, let's bring it.
So our project for the new Shul began with the Kuma Festival. I don't know if any of you were there and wove into this beautiful vertical loom. Many of you brought remnants of your lives in cut-up strips of leftover tablecloths, old linens, old cloths, beautiful ribbons, family heirlooms. You were asked to write intentions on them, and we wove them into this vertical loom. And that's how far we got. So we have to go a lot farther. We're going to go all the way up to the top. So what I'd like to ask you to do is to think about how your daily task touches your values, and write out what you'd like to provide for this world in the next 10 days. So you can bring to any of the services any fabrics that you would like. We can cut them up if you don't want to cut strips. Otherwise, just cut strips of fabric and write your intentions on what you would like to bring of value to yourself, to your community, to your loved ones. And think about the intention you'd like to bring into this world, and bring fabrics to the services that we're having. We're going to have big plastic bags, so we can just throw them in there. I'll cut them if you have fabrics at your home. Amy and Danielle, I sent you a notice. If you have fabrics, I'll come over and pick them out from the doorman, whatever you have. We need to fill this up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of strips. And this weaving holds the hands of small children right now and aged adults. Weavings do not discriminate. They hold all the blessings of the universe in them. Even animals, birds, spiders, and beavers are all weavers. So beings and earth, we are all bound together through the ages, and let us create this magical cloth together, because everyone's intentions are going to be woven into the warp, and we're all going to be touching one another to build a much better community as we move forward. So bring anything you have. Really, we have we need hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of strips, like a little bit over 1,000 strips to finish this up. So, or just bring a fabric and we'll cut them for you. So.
Thank you, Suzanne. It's fun. You get to tie it on, and it's a meditative thing. You can sit there and do it, and it's a beautiful thing. Susan, my beloved partner in crime here at the New Shul, has got a few words for you before we say the Kaddish and do some closing rituals here. But I would like to invite Susan Myers.
Shana Tova. For the past year and a half, we have been wandering through a desert, isolated, surrounded by a dangerous, unseen enemy, uncertain of where we are heading. So too were our ancestors as they made their way through the barren wasteland of the Sinai. They were a disjointed band of people, each with their own agenda, a chaotic group who, out of fear of the unknown, behaved in erratic, self-centered ways until they committed the ultimate sin of building the golden calf. The Torah portion, Vayechel, begins with these words, "And Moses assembled all of the community of the children of Israel. He brought together this disorganized collection of individuals, and Moses created a kehillah, a community." As the rabbi suggests, the real genius of Moses wasn't merely that he was the lawgiver who brought down commandments from Mount Sinai. Moses was the first CEO of the Jewish people, the first director of development, the first rabbi teacher, and perhaps above all, and most importantly, the first community organizer. Through Moshe's leadership, wisdom, inspiration, and sacred mitzvot, that community has lasted for more than 3,000 years. We are the inheritors of that community, and ours is the challenge to figure out how to transform that Jewish civilization into a blessing for the next generation as well. Your New Shul, under the leadership of Rabbi Misha, is a place where we connect to something larger than our individual selves. When your voice joins together with those of others in song, we create a kehillah, a community where anything is possible, where ideas transform our world, where our children can have a future. Your voices come from an incredibly diverse group of individuals of all ages, family structures, gender identities, political leanings, and religious backgrounds. Your New Shul is a kehillah with arms and hearts wide open to greet you and provide a hospitable tent to accommodate all who wish to join us, no matter how often. If you are not already a member of our kehillah, now is the time to join the New Shul, where you can find a safe haven from the pressures of the world, a place where you can develop close friendships, a spiritual life, and a way to infuse your life with a richness not found anywhere else. Join because you care about the future of Judaism. Join even if you don't attend regularly. Join to build relationships, to feel more connected. Join to become part of something larger than ourselves. In our kehillah, we are here to help each other celebrate happy occasions such as baby namings, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, graduations, weddings. And we're also here to help each other and support each other in times of sorrow or tragedy. We help each other, but we're not insular. We look outward and strive to help make a difference in our not-so-perfect world. Rosh Hashanah and the high holidays are the time in which we reflect on the past year and renew our spiritual attachment. We also renew our commitments to ourselves, to our families, to our friends, and to our kahila, our community. Now is the time to renew your commitment to the new Shul. Yes, we are here for you, and we're all here for each other. And we hope that you'll get involved. Come to Friday night Kabbalah services. Participate in the incredible learning opportunities of the Cherotot. Join the Kuma Festival. Volunteer. Help me do something. Anything throughout the next year. It is because of the involvement of members of our Kihila that we're here to create this incredible, wonderful high holiday experience. And I want to thank some members of our community for their work. Nina, Julian, Rose, and Jacob Kofelt, Oria Guila, who spent time today out of their long days to help us set up this beautiful space. The members of our VAD, Michael Edelman, Barry Adler, Ricky Long, Rob Milam, Judy Miner, David Rosenberg, David Schoenberger, Greg Chatan, and Jessica Sloat. Our founders, Ellen Gould and Holly Gewantner, who we were always so grateful for their vision and their leadership and their love. Special thank you to Talia Feldberg, and a very, very special thank you to Amy Gross for creating this amazing sacred space. And of course, thank you, Rabbi Misha. Yes, we are partners in crime, and it is an honor to work with you. It's been an amazing, only a year, but it feels like we've known each other forever. So thank you. In the Parsha Vayikra, Moshe calls upon the people to contribute gifts in order to build the Mishkan. In response to this call for support, the Hebrew people contribute so much that for the first and probably only time in fundraising history, Moses is forced to tell them to stop contributing. I truly hope that Rabbi Misha will need to repeat that request this year. These days of awe from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur are a gift to us, a chance to step back and look at our lives, not just to seek teshuvah, but a chance to examine how we have lived our lives and the choices we have made, both good and maybe not so good. We have the ability to choose how we want to act and how we want to think and how we want to live our lives. Being part of our Kihila, the new Shul, is an important way to help in guiding those choices. If you are a member already, thank you for your sacred gift to the new Shul. If you are not a member, please consider becoming one. And now some announcements about the upcoming services. Please join us tomorrow at 11 a.m. at Pier 6 at Brooklyn Bridge Park or via Zoom. On the grass by the water, we will attempt to recreate the experience of Torah reading as it was done when the practice first was invented over 2,000 years ago. On Wednesday, join us at 4 p.m. at Pier 45 at Hudson River Park or via Zoom. Looking back and looking forward, our Jewish Brazilian Tashlik builds on the ancient ritual of casting away our sins in the form of breadcrumbs, adding prayers for renewal and new directions in the coming year in the form of flowers. Next week, please join us here at the Theater for the New City at 7 p.m. for Kol Nidre, a new composition written especially for the new Shul by our very own Grammy Award-winning Frank London, to the words of ancient wisdom from the Talmud, will anchor our evening of repentance, renewal, and return. On Yom Kippur morning, services will begin at 10 a.m. here, and on Zoom, of course. We will hear from those who completed the spiritual assignments shared by Rabbi Misha and Suzanne tonight. Yiska will begin at 12 noon. We are happy to announce that Ne'ilah, the closing service of Yom Kippur, will be held outside of Pier 45 beginning at 6:15. Join us under the gates of heaven. This move to an outdoor service will allow more members to attend in person as we gather to mark the end of Yom Kippur as a community, ending with a safe, socially distanced community breakfast. Of course, just look at our website for all of this information, www.newshul.org. And most importantly, please join us. As we begin 5782, join our kehillah, our community, contribute, and let's make Rabbi Misha need to tell us to stop. Hashanah Tova.
Well done. Please rise for the mourner's Kaddish. Page 44 in the Machzor, or Jack, where are we in the other one?
14.
14 in the virtual Machzor. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
בעלמא דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה, לעילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. Thank you. Please have a seat. Before we go, we got a couple little treats, some on Zoom and some in person. I gave a little, not a spiritual assignment, but a cooking assignment to a few select individuals. There's a line in Nehemiah that says that we should be happy on Rosh Hashanah and eat fattening foods and drink sweet beverages. So I gave that as a prompt to Sasha, to David, and to Linda. Sasha, you wanna show us what you got? You got it over there?
Yes, actually, maybe it's not the healthiest. Most foods I cook are quite oily. I understand that in Hebrew it's the same as fatty, right?
Yep.
So, please,
you gotta raise it a bit, we can't see it. There you go.
Eggplant sauté, lots of oil, but also lots of veggies.
Is it a chocolate?
Eggplant sauté.
Eggplant sauté.
Eggplants and other veggies cooked to softness and little bit started frying.
Delicious. All right. Thank you. Okay.
And carrot steam, just carrots cooked in lots of oil. Very
Thank God. That's it. We got carrots in oil and what? I couldn't hear that, Ari. Wonderful. Okay. So may we have a fat and sweet year. David, where's David? David Schoenberger has a bunch of. Come show us your. He's got a. David went a different route. He didn't make it unhealthy. He made it a healthy fat. Isn't that right, David? Yes.
They moved my box.
Oh, they moved your box?
Where is my box? We'll find it, but I have a quick story. Also, I promised Susan I would get her mask. I'm going to sit down just because I drank a bit much. So, hello, good evening. Thank you for coming. I'm actually somehow president of this beautiful place. And yesterday, gosh, at about this time, I got a text from Misha. I was having a bath. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, no, he's got COVID. What are we going to do? We need a new rabbi just for today. And it turns out we didn't. I called him back, and he said, oh, we need something fatty and something sweet. And I didn't check the attendance list, so I said, okay, a few beautiful musicians, a couple of folk, shouldn't be hard. A little pie, a bottle of port, and then I'd be done. And this morning, when I came back into New York, I looked at the attendance list, and I realized we've got over 75 beautiful souls here tonight, plus everybody on TV. I asked Susan, who will feed them? And she said, Rabbis Misha and Michael and Jim. And she goes, take care of the people who are here. So I quadrupled the recipe, and I had to FaceTime my wife to make sure that I was cooking this frittata correctly. And she's like, it should be golden on the outside, and then when you shake it, the middle really shouldn't jiggle all that much. And she asserted that it's okay. And I've got 3 of them, and I've got about 150 forks and plates and knives and everything you need to eat a little. And if you're worried about that, because FaceTime doesn't always give the best image of what something is, eat from the edges first. So when you cook for alone, this is something my grandma once said. When you cook for yourself, it's an act of necessity or need. And when you cook for others, it's an act of love. And I hope you enjoy ours. And there's apple cider, about 6 gallons, and it's Ziegler, which seems like a Jewish company.
Let's say this together. Yeah, a blessing for a sweet year. Yeah, no, that was great. Here, say it with me. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu shetechadesh aleinu shana tova umetuka. May you bring upon us a good and a sweet and a fat year. Amen.
Amen.
Yes. So Shana Tova, everybody. Shall we get you guys want to play us some happy music to close out? Shana Tova, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. out in Brooklyn. Oh, hold on. What? Kiddush and Motzi. Right. Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Yes. Keep it going. This is your Anatole. Right? This is Nancy and Anatole, right? Oh, Barry, I'm sorry. Right, come. There you go. You guys are the only ones who get music.
Amen.
You do that one.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzei lechem min haaretz.
Amen.